What's up, everybody? Richard back today with another episode of the Warped Report, and today we have some news to get to. The first story here that I want to get to is one that is quite surprising and is quite big for, this alternative music scene as a whole. But overall, a number of tracks came out this past week. I definitely want to touch on those. Some more albums that were announced. And there's maybe a Knocked Loose EP. We're not 100% sure, but we still want to bring that news to you. So without further ado, let's dive into it with our first story. Now, I'm going to read this headline, and this is going to be kind of surprising. But Bring Me the Horizon have announced a European tour with a day to remember. Okay. Poor Stacy, who I've heard of. I got to be honest with you, I'm not too familiar with the material. But also Lorna Shore. Now, I was pretty, this was pretty surprising. I'd seen Ollie Sykes from Bring Me the Horizon kind of going back and forth with Will Ramos a little bit on social media. But I guess there's a tour coming with Lorna Shore opening it. And listen, man, I think this is absolutely phenomenal. Now, Bring Me the Horizon have kind of gone above and beyond this scene that we have here. But, of course, their roots lie within it. And if you go back to the earlier material, it's MySpace deathcore. And now with Lorna Shore opening this up in Europe, this is going to be really, really cool. I think it's a very big deal for, our alternative music scene as a whole. Again, personally speaking, like Lorna Shore, very talented musicians. But, it's personally not my cup of tea musically, but that's okay. But either way, this is massive because, one, there's a few things here. One, I think going over to Europe for a tour like this is probably the best bet for Lorna Shore, because I think that European fans are probably a little bit more open-minded and susceptible and probably a little bit more easygoing when it comes to what music they're listening to. Whereas if they were over here in the States touring, and you kind of had their more, their current fan base. I think people over here will be like, what the freak is this Lorna Shore stuff? They would be like, what is this? But over in Europe, I think they'll have an easier time. But either way, this is opening up a market that Lorna Shore, listen, as great as Lorna Shore is, this is an audience that they would have never, ever had access to if not for Bring Me the Horizon. I think a lot of that has to, I think you have to speak to Ollie Sykes' knack for keeping his ear to the ground. He's sharing bands on Instagram and stuff like that. He shared a band called 𝗧𝗛𝗪, which is kind of an up-and-coming band with 20,000 monthly listeners on Spotify that I've actually played shows with, a New Jersey-based band. So he knows what's going on. So he definitely knows who Lorna Shore is. He probably respects the vocal talent that is Will Ramos and just the overall writing of Lorna Shore. While Bring Me the Horizon doesn't do that style, doesn't mean that Ollie can't appreciate it. And so taking this jump, especially with a day, so you have a day to remember, which, you would expect. Like I said, poor Stacey, I'm not too familiar, but Lorna Shore, that it's incredible. And I think it's a testament to Bring Me the Horizon's ability to kind of elevate any artist or any band that is around them. So congratulations to Lorna Shore. That tour is going to be happening in early 2022, starting in February and going all the way until, it's actually the whole month of February. So pretty much you have it from February 1st to February 27th. So that's very awesome to see. Congratulations to those guys. But the next story we got here, this is pretty cool. We have Northlane going fully independent, and they launch a Patreon. Now, this is a move that I'm surprised a lot of other bands, more, kind of established bands aren't doing. But Lorna Shore, after releasing 5 studio albums with UNFD, they have gone fully independent. They have no label, no management, and they self-produce their own records. But they also launched a Patreon called the Northlane World Eaters. We not a Patreon, but 𝗧𝗛𝗪 is a band that has been fully independent for a little while, and they're making it work. Now, Northlane is doing the same thing. This could result in more money for the band. I'm sure that the Patreon, which actually, we'll pull it up here live right now. Let's see how their Patreon is doing, because I think, I wonder if we have any access. So they have 245 patrons. The lowest tier is $4.50 a month, going up to 97. So we're not, we don't know how much money exactly they're making. But 245 patrons off the bat, let's just for averages sake, we'll say that it's, 10-ish bucks or whatever, if you average everything together. So at minimum, 25, close to 2,500 bucks, probably way more than that, dollars per month. And that's just after that's just after a few days of having announced this. So that'll grow, and they self-produce their own records. So, that expense isn't there. So when you really think about it, with a band like Northlane, if they're self-producing everything, and, they can use the Patreon to help sustain other expenses such as music videos and marketing and all that kind of stuff, there's really not a whole lot of need at that point for a record label. So congrats to them. I hope that it really does work out for them big time. I really, really hope it does. So Knocked Loose. This is an interesting one because I kind of go through Lambgoat. I really enjoy Lambgoat in their news because they really cover a lot of the more underground stuff, whereas the bigger sites don't really tend to. But Knocked Loose, a Tear in the Fabric of Life EP. But it says here in brackets that they were asked to remove the post because everything about it is incorrect, quote. So there is a new Knocked Loose EP on the way, but for now we'll have to wait and see when. So apparently they had a report on this earlier, and apparently everything about it is incorrect. Who knows? I can't see why the band would lie about that. At this point, it doesn't really matter. But that's interesting. So, but at least at some point we know that there is an EP coming. I saw Knocked Loose teasing some stuff on social media, so that makes a lot of sense. But for now, as far as what the actual details of the EP are, we're going to have to wait and see. But this one we do know, but this is an album, not an EP. The Browning to release their new album, End of Existence, in December. This is going to be awesome. I'm a big fan of the Browning. I have been for years now at this point. And we have a quote here from Johnny McBee. It says, "To me, the music sounded doomy, dystopian, and apocalyptic. The Browning has always had that tone, but it's even more prevalent now. Early on, I knew I was going to write the heaviest Browning body of work there was. I needed a theme to fit the heaviness and darkness of the music, though. Since I was really happy in my personal life, I had to have a fictional plot. For me, it was about creating a universe." So it looks like there's 12 tracks here. Doesn't say anything about any, features or anything like that, but the Browning are coming back December 3rd via Spine Farm Records with their record End of Existence, the follow-up to 2018's Geist. So that'll be awesome. Also, Volumes have announced an album titled Happier, and they premiere a new single called Bend. And Get Enough was another song that they also released prior to Bend. And this one's going to be coming out November 18th via Fearless Records. And we have a description here of the track. Bend is about how in a relationship, sometimes one person can break another, while all along they never seem to bend or break themselves, says singer Michael Barr. It's really about how we can easily turn into someone and start to tear each other down. So this 11 tracks here, Bend, this was really cool. I don't think there was any guitar on this at all. It was all bass. It was very chill, relaxed. I enjoyed it. But we have a new Volumes album coming out. Going back to EPs, though, so we had one EP with Knocked Loose, 2 albums with Volumes and the Browning, and now we have like Moths to Flames releasing an EP just after, no time at all releasing No Eternity in Gold last year in 2020. So, like Moths to Flames have announced their upcoming EP, Pure Like Porcelain, to be released Friday, November 5th. And it was they announced it with their first single, The Preservation of Hate. And listen, man, this was an excellent track. Very heavy, a lot more on the heavier side compared to their typical material, which is a little bit more melodic. But this is going to be 5 tracks. No news here on if there's any features. It doesn't look like it. But like Moths to Flames, more material. We love to see it. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the new Ice9 Kills single, Funeral Derangements. I'm actually, at the time of this recording, just coming out doing my reaction video for it, so it's all very, very fresh. This is their next single off of their upcoming record, The Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood, which is coming out on the 15th, so this week. This one here was an adaptation of the popular Stephen King novel and film adaptation, Pet Sematary. So this was awesome. It started off red hot, heavy right out the gate. You love to see that, especially with Ice9 Kills. Because they kind of go very theatrical, but they've been keeping the heavy in this album so far with these singles, and I mean, you can't knock that. I'm a very big fan of what they're doing with this album. great chorus, very catchy. You also got those woes in the background, but heavy as heck. The visuals really accompany the music in such a way that just it keeps you enthralled with it. I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off of this while I was watching it, so I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it again to really absorb it even more, because the video I was honestly very, very impressed by. And that's something that I think a lot of bands kind of put on the back burner, is the visuals. And especially for Ice Nine Kills, where it's a concept around, you know, the more prominent horror films and whatnot. You need that, and they're doing it very, very well. So I cannot wait for the new Ice Nine Kills album. I think it's going to be probably one of my favorite albums of the year. And I'm very, very impressed. But with all that said, that does it for this week's episode of the Warped Report. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're over in Europe, are you going to be going to the Bring Me the Horizon tour? Northlane, what are you guys hoping to see from Northlane here in the future now that they're fully independent? Knocked Loose, you excited for that? I'm excited for that EP. I'm a big fan of Knocked Loose. What about the Browning? What did you think of their first single, End of Existence, the title track for their record? Volumes, how are you feeling about Volumes? We kind of got some chiller vibes from them. Of course, they've always kind of had like that groove and swag to them, but we've got a really groovy here as of late. And like Monster Flames, I'm hoping for a heavy EP. Are you hoping for a heavy EP? And also at the time of this, we're just days away from the release of Ice Nine Kills' new album. So I hope that you guys are excited for that. Let me know all your thoughts about all these topics down in the comments below. And I will see you next week for another episode of The Warped Report. Peace.